This video covers item attributes. Item attributes is a part of XOLights that allows you to add a further level of customization to your site. It allows you to group together products, and then there are a number of different things you can do with them once they're grouped together. You can apply a markup or a discount to those specific items. You can print tags from that group. Which would allow you to print all of the tags or go back in later and print only the things that had changed since the last time you printed. And it will also allow you to make it so that group of items is searchable in the catalog. In order to work with item attributes, you need to be logged in as an administrator. And then once you are, click Admin Item Attributes. On this page you can see all of the different attributes that you have in the system. Typically there are 4 defaults, although this one has a number of different customized ones added. In order to add a new one, you just click Add New down here, and then you can type in whatever you want to name it. Once you're happy with that, just come down and hit Save. If you want to remove an attribute, you just click this Delete button here. When you're working with attributes, sometimes you want to add in a large list of items all at once, and sometimes you just have a handful of items here and there. With that in mind, we've made it so that there's 2 possible ways that you can add items to attributes. First of all, you could do an import of a large number of items, or you can manually add items one by one. I'm going to cover the import first. And you would just prepare a document in Excel. And actually, if you come over here and click Import, you can see it actually gives you some guidelines that will help you to get your document ready for import. So first of all, I'm going to add in the headers. The only mandatory ones are these 3, vendor, attribute, and item num. Now the item num obviously would be the item number, and that is the vendor's item number, the actual manufacturer's part number, not the XOLights number. The attribute is going to be whatever you named the attribute in the system. And then the vendor, of course, would be the vendor that you're importing the items from. The important thing to know is that this document requires exact matches. You need to make sure that the headers match exactly what you see in here. Capitalization doesn't really matter, but everything else does. So you don't even want to have a space at the beginning or ending of these header names. The item numbers do have to match exactly what's in XOLights, although again we're talking about the vendor's item numbers, not the internal item numbers. With the attribute, it does need to be an exact match for whatever is named in the system. So mostly what I'll prefer to do is just copy and paste the attribute name, and then there's no chance that it will be in any way different from what you had in the system originally. So you'll only do an import with one attribute at once, and so you just drag it down for all of those. And then we'll just say that I've got my item numbers filled in here, and then it comes down to getting the right vendor. Now you can have more than one vendor on a spreadsheet at a time. And it's important that the vendor names match exactly what's in XOLights as well. So let me show you a little trick. If you go into Admin, Vendors, at the very bottom of your vendor list there's this button that says Export All. And when I open that up, you see it's a list of all of the different vendor names for all of the vendors that I have added to my personal site. So this list will change based on your vendors that you've added. And then the vendor IDs for them. The vendor IDs are basically numbers that XOLights uses to recognize each vendor. So you can see here Maxim is 19, FICE is 75, and you'll see a lot of different other ones in your system. That list will change based on which vendors you have. Now I am going to pull up my other list here, and the easiest thing to do is to use those vendor IDs. So let's say that the first 5 items are Maxim items. I'm going to put 19 in because you remember Maxim was 19. And then let's say maybe that I have a whole bunch of FICE items. So for everyone that's FICE, I'm going to put in 75 because that was their number. And so on. So you may have any number of vendors on there. Now the vendor IDs are good to use because the system will recognize them correctly every time. There's no chance that it's going to come up with something different. When you're trying to spell out the vendor's name, sometimes you end up just a little bit different from us. For example, you may put in Maxim Lighting instead of Maxim, or Curry and Company instead of Curry and Co. And there's so many little things that can be different in the way that the vendor names are in there. So the IDs ensure that you're going to have an exact match. The next step is to save it as a CSV file. So if you go to File, Save As, when this comes up, you can see Save As typed down here. You just hit that drop down and you can see there's a number of different CSV types of files. You want the one that says comma delimited. So select that one, and then it doesn't matter what you save the name as, just as long as it's that CSV comma delimited format. One note about saving the attributes: when you're in a CSV file, you'll often get error messages such as this file may contain features that are not compatible with CSV. Just click yes on that. The only one that you really need to be concerned about that you might get is it'll give you a warning that it's not compatible with documents with multiple pages. And if you have multiple pages, multiple sheets down at the bottom of your spreadsheet, you have to realize that CSV files can only have the first page read. So you probably want to delete any additional sheets out of your spreadsheet besides the one that you're working on. Now, once you're ready to import, just come over here and click Import, choose File, find it on your desktop from wherever you have it saved. Once you find your document, just highlight it, go ahead and click Open, and then Import. Now, this is a successful import here. You see, okay, completed successfully. It went through pretty fast as well, and that's probably because I didn't have a lot of items on it. If you have a lot of items, it might take some time to think about it before it completes. Now, what sometimes happens is you may end up getting a reject file. This would happen if you have items on your spreadsheet that it couldn't find a match for. It will still put in the ones that it did find a match for, but it will create a CSV document and it would have a link to it right here. Now sometimes when you have a reject file, you're going to see a whole bunch of code that you can just scroll past, and then it would say something like OK, complete with reject file, and you can just click that reject file to open up the document and see anything that did not go through, so you can kind of troubleshoot that. There's a couple of things you can do here that I want to point out as well. You can see this UI and filter. Let me pull up the catalog real quick and show you what this means. So you may have seen this availability store options. Depending on your catalog layout, it may be in there worded a little differently. It may be built into the sidebar or something like that. But you can see all of the different attributes in there. And I can select the one that I want to look at and hit search, and then everything that's in that attribute is going to come up. Now the fact that this is in that drop down is because the filter box is checked. If I didn't want that attribute to appear in that drop down, I could uncheck the filter option and then hit save. The UI also deals with the catalog appearance. If I pull this up, you can see this item that is assigned the attribute clearance actually says the word clearance on it. And that is the UI part of it. UI stands for user interface, and that means the attribute being visible from within the user interface. Also, if I click on the item, you can see the attributes that are assigned to it down here under product details. It says attribute, and this one is only assigned one, but if you had assigned this item to more than one attribute, then you would be able to see all of those attributes here. Another thing that you can do that's helpful to be aware of is you'll notice an export button by each attribute. If you click that, it will create a CSV document with all of the items that you have in there, a little bit of information on them, and you can actually just go in and edit this document and turn around and import it back in. So you may add in additional items. You may go in and put an X in the quantity field here for some of the items, and then when you imported that back in, that would remove those items from the attribute. Let's go to admin items here. This is where you would change attributes item by item. So for example, if you wanted to remove or add an item, a single item or a small group of items to an attribute, this would be a good place to do it. You would just want to enter in the item number that you wanted to change and then click search. I don't have a specific item number in mind, so I'm going to go ahead and just do a general search here and get some items up on the screen. Now you'll notice on the items page, once I pulled them up, there's this edit button to the side. If you click edit here, you'll notice the page that comes up, you've got all of your different attributes down here. So if you wanted to add this item to an attribute, you could just click the little check mark next to the attribute you want to add it to and then hit save. That item will now be added to that attribute. And you could do the reverse as well. So let's say that I have an item that I want to remove from one of my attributes. You can pull it up here, click edit on it. You can see that box is already checked, so I'll just uncheck that and hit save. And now it's no longer added to that attribute. So that's how to add and remove items from attributes. If you have any further questions about this, please contact client services at clientservices@XOLights.com. Also, feel free to use any of the additional resources on the site. As always, thanks for watching and have a great day.